76% of the businesses that fail don't fail because there was not a market need for their product or their service. They fail due to incompetence or lack of knowledge on the part of the entrepreneur.
We now go to our amazing guest, Zevy Wolman, the chairman of the board at the Jewish Entrepreneur, Robert Safren, executive director at the Jewish Entrepreneur. A little bit about the Jewish Entrepreneur. They provide entrepreneurs and startups with mentorship and guidance necessary to establish successful, thriving businesses. Over the last 6 years, TJE, the Jewish Entrepreneur, has matched over 2,000 businesses. Again, over the last 6 years, they've matched over 2,000 businesses with mentors, directly leading to many millions of dollars in growth. I'm honored to say that I've had many conversations with Robert, and I have been honored to be a mentor with a number. So I've drank the Kool-Aid and realized how special this organization is, and therefore it was a no-brainer. We had to get them on the show. On tonight's edition, we will discuss building and maintaining an organization, measuring success, and we're also going to talk about crowdfunding. With that intro, we give a warm welcome, Zevy Wolman, Robert Safren. Thank you so much for joining me here on Mind Your Business.
Pleasure to join you, Yitzchok.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to turn to Zevy now. Tell us about the Jewish Entrepreneur. How did it all come about? Now, you've helped 2,000 businesses, but there was an aha moment. There's a backstory here. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having Robert and I on. It's really a pleasure to be here. So actually, going back about 9 years ago, I opened a branch of EPI, which is a interest-free loan fund here in Baltimore, where I live. And we were lending $25,000 interest-free, payable back over 3 years to startups in our community. And what was really interesting when we put it out there, is that there were people who were coming for loans who in fact didn't need the money. I mean, they thought they needed the money, but the reality was they didn't need the money. They just needed help. They needed somebody to sit down with them. They needed somebody to go through their numbers with them, somebody to make recommendations. And that's when it hit me that, we had a real need in the community for mentorship, for people who had started or grown successful businesses to really be there to help those who were looking to start or grow their own businesses. And, we'll talk more about it, but the importance of mentoring is absolutely, it's crucial and it's ubiquitous across all communities, all businesses. And so that was how we started. This was going back about 6 years ago. And since then, with almost no advertising, like we really don't advertise. We don't sort of talk a lot about what we do, almost through word of mouth. We've mentored, like you said, I think we're almost up to 2,400 entrepreneurs, business owners that we've mentored now across the world. All religions, all faiths, all parts of the world, and it's been a ride for sure.
Now, Zevy, you raised a great point, which is so key in terms of entrepreneurs and even people that have been around the block. They've been in business for 5-10 years. Many times, it's not the money. They might seem like I need a business loan. And sometimes they do need that in order to achieve growth. True, but many times it's I wouldn't say it's a shoulder to lean on, but it's rather someone that they could confide in, talk with, and then get to the bottom and say, okay, really the issue is it's a management issue. It's a marketing issue. It's 100%. A technology issue. Perhaps you can expound that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And that's exactly what we're here to do. So just some statistics for you. 50% of all businesses fail before their 5th birthday. This is according to the Small Business Administration. 20% have failed in the first year. But here's where it gets really interesting. 76% of the businesses that fail don't fail because there was not a market need for their product or their service. They fail due to incompetence or lack of knowledge on the part of the entrepreneur, which makes so much sense because if you think about it, if you're an entrepreneur who has a great idea for a product, for a service, for something that you want to offer the general public, chances are you're not also really good at finance and accounting and sourcing and shipping and logistics and. So very often you need somebody to sort of be there for you, like you said, like a shoulder to point you in the right direction. But here's where it gets amazing. 87% of all businesses that undergo some sort of mentorship or incubation last longer than 5 years.
Amazing statistic.
So it's like it's such a no-brainer. And then you look at revenue, 106%, this is just our own internal numbers, 106% increase in revenue for those that received mentoring from us versus a general 14% in increase in revenue in the general population. So it's like, it's a no-brainer.
Amazing stats. Zevy, I got to stay on this before I get, of course, you got to get to Robert soon. An important question, and this is a delicate question.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur, they're so close to their idea. It's their baby, as it's referred to in the industry. And many times they really do need to turn to someone, but they might be a little bit too much of we'll say a Yiddish word, an auction, right? They're like, I'm going to ramrod my way through this and not realize they do need help. Is there a way that your organization has perfected, because you've helped 2,400 people, that's businesses, that translates, and besides the tens of, not hundreds of millions of dollars, that's people, families being fed because you've, in many cases, prevented a failure, prevented a bankruptcy, whatever the case is. But what happens when someone, they really do need the help, but they're not honest enough with themselves to turn to someone like TJE?
It's a really good question. And I think what's been great for us is that mentorship has become so ubiquitous across the world that you see now that CEOs of Fortune 500 companies have mentors. You see people of significant note, repute, and success are turning to their own mentors, and they're talking about it. Like in Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In book, when she was the famous book that she wrote sort of for women in the workforce and for women entrepreneurs, there was an entire chapter in there about why women need a mentor, why entrepreneurs need a mentor, why she has a mentor, who her mentors were, as she was coming up through the US Treasury and then Facebook. And ultimately, I think what's been fantastic about it is that people have shifted their viewpoint that mentorship is not a form of taking charity. Mentorship is something that everybody needs, regardless of the stage of business. And that's when it got, that's when it really started snowballing.
It's a great point. Yeah, today, like you mentioned, it's not considered taboo to say, it's not like certain other things that may be considered taboo. No, I have a mentor. I have someone a business coach, and I've been close to some very, very successful coaches, and even some that have been interviewed here on the program, and they admit, yes, I have a coach, and they may not share the name. That's fine, but exactly. But that's a great point. Another question, Zevy. Is the mission, vision, and purpose the same today as when you started out 6 years ago?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, the mission is empowerment. We're trying to help people as much as we can. The reality is that even, over the last 16 months since the onset of the pandemic, the way that you reach people and the way that we deal with sort of the day-to-day challenges, it changes all the time. And it's like that in business. It's like that in nonprofit. It's like that. There's just no possible way to stay static and grow. It just doesn't. They are a contradiction in terms. So at the end of the day, what we've done over the last, I would say, 18 months in particular, and I know Robert's going to tell us a lot more about it, but what we've really done over the last 18 months is we've tried to be there for people where they need us and how they need us. So I just want to talk about this for a minute because I think it's so important. The pandemic was a horrifying tragedy, a horrifying global tragedy, which has affected tens of millions of people. So I use these words very carefully, but I believe that there is a silver lining in the pandemic for so many people. And the silver lining is that people are able to work and receive services remotely in ways that they never conceived of before. And what that does is it's a game changer, first of all, for almost every nonprofit organization in the world that previously was restricted to providing services geographically. Mm-hmm. So it's a game changer. It's a game changer for the workforce. And I'm sure you'll probably do multiple shows on how businesses are dealing with it and how people are dealing with remote work. Not the subject of today's episode. Mm-hmm. But what I think is absolutely crucial and fascinating for every organization to think about is that it dramatically increases the possibilities of what we can do. So it's true, in the past, we were primarily remote as an organization. Most of our mentorships happen on the phone, via Zoom, on Skype, whatever it is. But now we're in a completely different position because not only did we realize that in the past, but now the world realizes it. And so post-pandemic, we're in a place where we can provide our services globally from anywhere to anywhere. And what we've done because of that, what we've been able to do because of that, and even prior to this was in motion. So we've actually started an umbrella organization for every major Jewish sort of founded organization that is providing services to people, either job placement or business services. We've now started an umbrella organization where the client of every one of our organizations is automatically a client of everybody else. So that means that if somebody is looking to start a business, somebody is looking for an interest-free loan, somebody's looking to get a better job, somebody's looking for personal finance help, things like that, what this organization called TribeWorks, what we've now done is, because of the sort of the potential for remote collaboration, it's enabled us to completely take to another level the services that we can provide to people all over the world and unify different disparate geographic organizations into one, I would say, machine, which is really able to provide services. So you ask if the mission is the same? Yeah, of course it is. We're trying to empower people to live better lives and be able to support their families, and that's all true. But what we've been able to do now is on a different level.
Before I turn to Robert, Zevy, how could people find out more information and to engage and to leverage the services that your organization provides?
So it's info@tjenetwork.com.
And I would even say, as opposed to an email address, which web address would you say is the best platform?
Yeah, sure. So tjenetwork.com.
T for the Jewish
the Jewish entrepreneur, tjenetwork.com.
tjenetwork.com. Robert, of course, welcome to the show. Can you please share with us the scope of the programs and what do they offer to the people out there who so desperately need it?
Well, as Zevy mentioned, it started about 6 years ago. Just kind of a little history.
Yeah.
I came into it about 3.5 years ago. I had worked in business operations for most of my career and thought I had retired. And my wife had found an article in, I think it was the Jewish Link, talking about mentoring. And I thought that was something I really wanted to do. So I looked up the organization, and I mentored for almost a year for this organization. And after about a year, I was asked to take on this role. And it's been an incredible journey. That's been the most pleasurable experience in my work history. I have to tell you that in over 30 years in business, maybe I got a few thank yous. In 6 months in this role, I got more thank yous than I'd had in 30 years in business. Every time I make a connection, it's an incredible experience. It's an adrenaline rush. So that's the nature of this organization. What it really is, it started off, as Zevy mentioned, as a pure mentoring organization. It started off with a couple of dozen mentors, maybe a few dozen folks that had helped in the first year. And now we do over 550 companies per year. We're projecting over 600 this year. Mentioned almost 2,400 that we've done in total. We started off when I came on board with 60 mentors. We now have 365 mentors across the U.S., across Canada, and across the world now. We have mentors in UK. We have mentors in other parts of Europe, in Asia. We have mentors in Israel. And we're growing. And our goal is to get to over 1,000 companies that we can help per year. So our core is really in the mentoring. But what we try to do is there are other things that we can supply as well. And so what we started is we do a free webinar that we do once a month. Mm-hmm. And specifically during the pandemic, we went back and we asked people, what do they need? What issues are they having during the pandemic? And in the first 2 months after the pandemic started, we must have did 5 or 6 webinars specific for what basically is occurring during that time. We had webinars on how to do sales from 6 feet away, how to market in this environment, all the loans and all the programs that were coming from the government. We did webinars on that. And we've expanded on that. So we continue to do these free monthly webinars. We've added WhatsApp organizations. So we have 11 industry-based WhatsApp organizations where mentors and mentees can talk to each other, communicate with each other, get context, get information, whatever they need, across 11 different industries that are specific to the ones that we've seen are critical. And recently, we've started what we call a mastermind organization, which is mentors talking to each other. And what's really great about that is not only do they talk to each other, they talk to us. They give us feedback on what we need to do to improve. We've actually instituted a number of those changes already. So those are the basic core of this organization. In the last year, we were the pioneer to kind of get this TribeWorks organization going that Zevy talked about. We now have 15 organizations, many of which are very well known, including the OU, including Aguda PCS, including many of the JCCs that are in this area. But it's not just New York and New Jersey. We have organizations in Cleveland. We have organizations in Toronto. We have organizations in Israel. So it's really a fully global network of TribeWorks that we've started and put in place. And it's a one-source resource for anybody, whether they're looking for a job, whether they're looking to develop their business, whether they're an entrepreneur and they need it, whether it's mentoring, whether it's job placement, whether it's job listings they're looking for, whether it's funding. It's a one place. And what's nice about it is you can combine all these things together for people that need multiple resources.
Now, we also want to give a shout out for mentors. I know that, again, I've been honored. And like Robert said, I have to share with the audience. When you help someone like that, there's an adrenaline rush. It's so special. You get off the phone, you spoke with someone for an hour, 2 hours, and then the following week you get back to them, they speak to you and they say, you know what, I implemented this. And we know the Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time to turn around an organization. But when they talk to someone that has experience, that's how they're really able to help them in a very meaningful way. Many times, as Evie mentioned, in a much more impactful way than cash.
Right.
Many times. So on the website, is it also clear for someone to sign up in order to join by providing mentorship to others? Is that also listed on the website?
Yes, we have. We have both a listing for becoming a mentor and a listing for basically needing mentoring.
And which website would that be? Where would they go?
So that would be tjenetwork.com. So if you go on tjenetwork.com, you'll see a button on top, Get Mentoring. You click on it. It goes right to a form. You fill it out. That form basically comes back to me. It goes right through our database, which is Salesforce. It automatically sends me a notification. I vet out every single one of the mentees. So we talk to every single person. We find out specifically what they need. Even though they filled out forms and given us information, during the conversation, you'll be amazed how many things come out that they really didn't think about, or really they weren't clear about what they need. I've seen so many times people say, what I need for mentoring is to grow my business. Everybody wants to grow their business, okay? That doesn't answer the question. How do you want to grow their business? Well, I'm not sure. How do I do that? Well, think about it. What is it that's holding you back from growing your business? And if you put that into a perspective, what is of those things you feel that you're not really comfortable in, that you're not secure in, that you don't know? And then let's prioritize it, and we'll figure out what you need now. Because one of the things we've instituted is we're there to help you and to find the solution for you. So if we set you up with a mentor, and that mentor helps you out, maybe it's in marketing, and now all of a sudden you peel back the layer of the onion, you need finance. We'll get you another mentor to do that. So we have a strong sense of feedback and communication so that we can get that additional response to help them out.
Before we go to a commercial break, again, how can people find out more about getting involved with your amazing work?
So again, if somebody wants to be a mentor, they can contact me directly. It's Robert at tjenetwork.com. So just like for the domain, it's Robert at tje.com.
And what's the website?
And the website is tjenetwork.com. TJ is in the organization.
Right.
One word, tjenetwork.com. And also, if somebody wants to look and see the resources that we have on TribeWorks, please look that up. That's tribeworks.org. That's tribeworks.org.
My guest this evening, Zevy Wolman, Chairman of the Board at the Jewish Entrepreneur, and Robert Safren, Executive Director at the Jewish Entrepreneur. Before I get back to Robert, I do need to give a shout-out to Josh Goldsmith. Thank you for everything, the role that he played. And also to Shia Rubenstein. He was the one that originally got me in touch with Robert when I had the opportunity, the zchus, as we say, to actually mentor a number of people. And like Robert said in the previous segment, it gives an adrenaline rush. It really does. You're helping another person, and that person is helping many, many people because it's their business that employs so many people. Robert, let's talk about TribeWorks. It came up in the previous segment. What is it all about? How did it get off the ground? Perhaps you can explain what this is all about.
Yeah, it's about over 2 years ago. We got together in the offices of the OU in downtown Manhattan, a number of organizations, And we talked about possible getting together as partners and putting together programs that we can combine a lot of the resources. Unfortunately, there just wasn't the resource available at that particular time to do that. And so what ended up coming out of it is a single event that we did at the end of that year called TribeWorks, which was an event in Staten Island that we got people together. We heard some great speakers. We had some great networking. Fantastic event with hundreds of people. The following year, we actually, right before the pandemic, we did another one at the end of 2019. In 2020, we got together with the UJ of New York, and they talked about the fact of getting all these organizations together to help a lot of people that we otherwise couldn't help. And we put together a program, and we got together a grant that basically the UJ supported, and with their resource and with their help, we were able to start TribeWorks as it was originally intended to be. And right now, there are 15 organizations, as mentioned, across the world that get together and supply a tremendous amount of resources. We have a calendar of every event that all these organizations are putting on in one website that you can see. We have, a series of...
And again, which website is that? I'm sorry?
That website is tribeworks.org.
Tribeworks.org. Okay.
And in that is also a video collection of every video that's put out by all these organizations. We even have something called a playbook. That's a womb to tomb collection of how to start and run a business from scratch. Every aspect of it. And it's constantly being added to. We have, with UJA's help, we put together some master classes on operations, on marketing, on sales. All of that's included in our video collection as well. We have an accelerator program where we can combine the resources of all these organizations for businesses that have an opportunity to grow and utilize many of these resources. And we're now putting together a virtual job listing site that combines all the job listing sites from all the partners. And basically you can look up on one site with the help of the Parnassa Exchange, who's putting this together. We can look up on one site all the jobs that are out there, not just local, but other locations, and not just physical, but virtual as well. So there's a tremendous amount of resource associated with this. And I have to give credit to all these organizations. Not only do they run their own chesed, their own charitable work, but they help and support others through this partnership.
Now, through the tens of thousands of listeners to the show, there are many that might be saying, okay, how can I either look to find a dream employee? How can I, where can I go to look for my next dream position? Where would they go? Which website?
They would go right again to tribeworks.org. There's a listing on the main page, the home page. You click down, it has every listing of every resource there. You want mentoring? Do you want funding? Do you want job listing? Do you want training? Just click on that. It shows you every organization that participates in that particular area. It says a little bit about each, and then you can literally click on each of those sites and see their specific program that they offer, whether it's classes, whether it's job listings, whether it's training, whatever it is, whether it's funding. You go right to the site. One fast, basically easy process to do that. And I want to also say, and I didn't mention that before, but these resources are all free resources here.
Amazing.
So everything we do in TJE is free, whether it's our mentoring, whether it's our webinars, whether it's our WhatsApp groups, whether it's the work we do with TribeWorks, all this stuff is free.
That's just unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's Chesed 101.
Absolutely. I mean, the approach I take, and I know you may ask it later, but I want to just
Sure.
The approach I take is, we are a Chesed organization. We're doing charity for people. That's the way we treat people. The biggest compliment I've ever gotten from somebody is, that it sounded like, I'm doing Robert a favor by him getting us mentoring. That's the greatest compliment I can get. That's the way I want people to feel when they talk to us.
Now, we just spoke about TribeWorks, but now we're going to go back to the Jewish Entrepreneur, which, of course, people can find out more information about how to become a mentee, a mentor. It's by going to tjenetwork.com.
Absolutely.
tjenetwork.com. Robert, this is going to be, I hope I'm not going to catch you off guard on this one. It's a little bit of a tricky question.
Okay.
And how do you measure success? And part of that I would love for you to explain, about particular strategies that you've seen that have been more successful than others.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, success is kind of just that big word out there, that success.
Right.
Is it measurable by dollars, by employees, by capacity, by
Right.
square feet? Perhaps you could explain that very big open, that magic word success. What does that mean in actuality?
Well, as an organization that's out there, non-profit that's trying to help folks out, it's a very different type of measurement system that you would expect. What I did is when I came in places, I wanted to put in things that maybe individually don't tell the whole story, but if you put them together, it tells a story. So we put in a lot of measurables. One of the things that we require of all of our mentees is to give us feedback. The reality is, if they don't give us feedback, we don't give them any further mentoring. It's very simple. We send them a form. It comes automatically from our database. They don't have to remember it. It comes on cue at a certain time. They're notified when it's going to come. They see the email, and all they have to do is click on a few things, and that's it. And it tells us a tremendous amount of information. Mm-hmm. So I have to tell you, if you look at our statistics, over 75% of the people that we mentor give us feedback, which is an incredible number if you think about it in terms of people. They get busy, they get whatever. Over 75% give us feedback. We have over a 90% satisfaction rating. And, and I tell people, I want you to be honest with your rating, because you know what? People think if I give a low rating, they won't come back to me. Just the opposite. I want to fix anything that we don't do right. And so when somebody comes back with a low rating, that's the one I go after first, and I try to fix it and get them another mentor. In doing so, I think we've been able to we get a tremendous amount of feedback on how I'm doing as well, and helps me in future connections. Over 90% satisfaction. We also give them a little bit of a survey. Would they come back to us, again? Would they recommend us again? Over 98% say yes to both questions. And the proof of the pudding is about 20 to 25% of the folks that we deal with are repeat customers. And 30% of the folks that sign up have been recommended by other people that have been in our system, whether mentors or mentees. That's the proof of that statistic. And you take that, and we also do monitor the revenue gain. Mm-hmm. And we look at their revenue when they start. They look at the revenue at 6 months and a year afterwards. I can tell you, when we started monitoring that, it was amazing. Zevy quoted the numbers, over in the first year alone, we saw a 30% increase on average in revenue amongst the folks that we mentored. Now, we can't say we did all of that. It was mostly driven by the folks themselves. It was their initiative. It was their professionalism. It was their drive. But you know what? The average is almost 10 times the average of people that don't get mentored. And we feel good that at least we participated in that.
Now, but Robert, what's so special and fascinating is the passion that you're bringing to the table. At the end of the day, we in the business world, we would all hope that a business that is generating revenue through their work would be as passionate as you are, and you offer these services for free.
Right. Well, I have to tell you, that's my background. As I say, I've always felt that treating people honestly, treating with consideration, treating people with respect, you get it back 1,000-fold. When you treat people, I have to tell you a very interesting story.
Sure.
I didn't even think about it till this moment. You just brought it up. I used to, in a previous job, fly often to Singapore. And I'd fly on Singapore Airlines, the best airline in the world, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
And this company flew me in business class in the upper deck of a 747. And I'm sitting there, and basically next to me is somebody who's been very, very nasty to the flight attendant. I mean, really, really nasty. And she didn't break track for a second. It was nice and polite and caring and sympathetic. By the end of the flight, he was so apologetic and so nice to this flight attendant. It just in a few hours turned the person 180 degrees. Think about that when you run a business and when you deal with people. If you treat people that way, that's what you'll get back 1,000-fold.
Such a great story, because you would think at one point she's just not going to serve him anymore. But if you go out of your way. And it's an important note to businesses, and we've had big experts. I mean, Shep Hyken has been a guest here on the show a number of times. He's perhaps definitely one of the world's foremost experts in customer service. He would love that story. But what a special story to share. Robert, here's a key question from your experience. What advice could you share to businesses on how they could measure success in their own business?
Absolutely. The first thing is, and I've heard this, I have to tell you, 99% of what I know is what I hear. You have to listen.
Special.
You have to listen to people. If you think you know everything, you know nothing. You must listen to people. That's the first thing. So when you're dealing with customers, when you're dealing with, people that you work with, listen, take ideas, take input. I would say for businesses, the most important thing to do is know your competition, their strengths and their weaknesses, know how you differentiate yourself. Basically, talk to your clients. Ask them how you're doing. What's the best feeling and what's the best measure of success is the people you serve. And tell them to be upfront with you and tell you what is it you're doing well and embellish those points. And what is it you need to improve and listen and improve. I mean, that's the greatest thing. Now, these days, everybody has a database and everybody has statistics, and I certainly recommend that. We do that ourselves. I mean, there are things that are important in your business that you should keep track of, whether it's you do cold calls, how many of them you get as final business, whether you're making connections. Whatever it is that relates to your business, you should have some database so you know whether you're successful or not. And that's relative to your own business, just like the numbers I pointed out in our business. So, but the most important thing is work with your customers, work with your clients, get their feedback, let them tell you how you're doing. At the end of the day, you're not delivering what you have, you're delivering what they need. And you must understand that and understand if you're doing that for them.
Such great advice. And one of the points I just want to hold on to is the importance of having some type of dashboard. Know what's going on, just like a pilot in a cockpit.
Right,
if you didn't have that dashboard, it wouldn't. God forbid it could crash. A business has to keep an eye on the finances, on a number of elements on a dashboard in order to see how they're doing.
Absolutely. We're fortunate that we have an excellent database in Salesforce, I geared the database to what we do daily in our operations. So you have to understand, whenever you put together any database, whenever you put together a series of statistics, what is it that your business does, and what is it your business needs to be successful? And that's what you need to have in your database. Just having numbers doesn't mean anything. It has to be the numbers that drive your business, the numbers that show your success. Understand what those are. And if you don't know what those are, talk to your customers. They'll tell you.
Robert, what are your plans for growth, and how do you see your success going forward? Even though over the past 6 years, you've helped 2,400 different businesses. You already have achieved great success, but what's your vision going forward?
Well, we have a plan to be able to grow to over 1,000 connections a year. That's a very aggressive number. I'll tell you how we structure ourselves. We have over 30 organizations around the world that give us connections, meaning they'll send folks to us, or we're part of their database or part of their website, where you just link on to mentoring and you'll come right to us. We have over 30 sites across the United States that do chesed for us, that put in a blurb every single month about our organization to sign up to be a mentor or to be a mentee. And that's been tremendous growth. But we want to grow. We want to grow in social media. We've been doing a lot of work in social media. We want to brand ourselves. So we're doing a lot more marketing, basically, to expand our business. We're getting our name out there more so people hear about us. It's very interesting. We have about 5 to 10% of the folks that come to us as mentees come from Google, from a Google search.
Fascinating.
We've done not $1 investment in Google. So if you look up Jewish entrepreneur or Jewish mentoring, we're right at the top, just from the traffic of people going through it. But we'd like to expand on that. So people hear our name, and hear our brand and think, I heard about them. Let's look them up. I want to see that Google traffic grow. I want to see that social media traffic grow. I want to expand the sites that we have, basically, to even more. I want to, put in more types of programs that attract people. That's why we put in all these new issues with webinars and with mastermind groups and with WhatsApp groups. We want to expand through TribeWorks with all our partners, that we each grow through connection with each other. So the goal is to get to 1,000. We're going to drive that through an intensive branding marketing program to get there.
Jewish Entrepreneur has, to date, they've been in business only 6 years, but to date, they have helped over 2,400 businesses. Unbelievable. It's one word there. Unbelievable. Just wow. And to have the pleasure of interviewing Zevy and Robert is something that's very, very special. I will say I drank the Kool-Aid. I have been honored to be a mentor a number of times. And as Robert said before, he really put it so well, you get an adrenaline rush when you do it. Those out there that have life experience, it pays to become a mentor. It's very, very special and rewarding. And I really, Robert, it's something that's so special. It's so special.
Well, we're absolutely... to have you as one of our mentors is
Thank you.
Tremendous for us as well. We really appreciate it.
And as pointed out, you do this for free. I mean, later I'm gonna have to ask you how you support it. It's an obvious question, but I'll get straight to that question. How can people get involved in helping the Jewish entrepreneur?
Well, the first thing I want to note is we have something called crowdfunding that we're doing this coming up Tuesday, the 29th.
June 29th.
June 29th.
June 29th.
The link to it is meaningfulmentorships.com. So that's meaningfulmentorships.com. You can click on it and you'll see our crowdfunding site. I want to give a shout out to the Chesed Fund that put this together for us. Great site. It tells a lot about what we do and gives a nice video of some folks that basically have been helped by us, including, I'm on there as well.
Okay. And again, what's the name of the site?
The site is meaningfulmentorships.com. So that's one way that people, that we get supported is through programs such as that. I also have to give a shout out to our donors, the people that are philanthropists that really help us because they know that we're trying to help people and purely for chesed.
Not just trying to help. You do help.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry to correct you there. It's just so unbelievable.
I mean, we have an incredible board of dedicated people that work for this organization, that drive their time for this, even though they have businesses of their own. You wouldn't know they have business of their own. They spend so much time devoted to this organization, have a fantastic executive board. I work with Zevy. He hates when I say I work for him, but he's I have to say it on the air. He's the best person I've ever worked for. He's an incredible person, and that includes everybody on our executive board and all the people that help and donate to us, basically to help us to survive.
So, Robert, if I may, perhaps you could even share, what does your leadership look like? Who is involved behind the scenes? Let's talk about it.
Okay, so first of all, we have an executive board, 4 individuals that again spend a tremendous amount of time. They develop the strategy. They give me the support. They help get me the funding that's needed to drive the marketing and the programs that we do. And the chairman of the board is Zevy Wolman, an incredible individual. You can look up on our site. We have other incredible people that work there. Ezra Freeberg, Judy Weiss, Yitzi Russo. We have an incredible board of people that are incredibly dedicated to us. We have some people behind the scenes. I have to tell you, the first person behind the scene is my wife. When I first, she's sitting right near me. Okay. We won't put her on camera, but she's sitting right near me.
A photobomb? Okay.
I have to tell you, she's the one that found the article in the Jewish Link. When I first took on this role, I said to Zevy, or I said to, through the board, I said I'll only take it on if I can work with my wife. And I have to tell you, she's given a tremendous amount of support. She's drove a lot of our initial marketing programs. The concept of working with all these different sites in different locations was her idea. She started that off initially, so I give her a tremendous shout out. And I can't say that she works for me. That never happens. You understand that relationship. She's my partner in this. That's the best I can say. But we understand the relationship here. Anyway, and then I want to give a shout out, as you did, to Josh Goldsmith. Josh Goldsmith's my right arm. Not only does he do all the IT and the graphics and a lot of the communication and an additional number of marketing programs, but really he's my partner as well in working this program. He's fantastic. He's always dedicated. He has a full-time job, basically, and he does this. And he does this because he loves doing this. I can't tell you how many times he says that. So tremendous shout out to Josh Goldsmith. I also want to, thank Eliza Ox. She runs our TribeWorks. She's our hub coordinator, and she does a really good job in doing that. And I want to give her a shout out. And I want to thank our mentors. We have 365 people that give up their time for free. They have personal lives. They have business lives. They don't charge a cent. As a matter of fact, one of the things we say with our mentors up front is you can't solicit business.
Yeah.
You can't solicit it. You heard that story when I talked to you. You can't solicit business. It's not part of what we do. If you want to get them some business, give them a contact someplace else. Don't take on any business. It's purely chesed. It's an incredible, and they deserve a tremendous shout out.
An interesting point is that this all started because of an article in the Link, right? So right. Moshe Kindler.
Moshe Kindler. Moshe Kindler is one of my mentors, I have to tell you.
That's amazing.
Incredible human being.
Incredible human being. I know him well. It's good that we're giving him a shout out. But it shows the power actually of marketing, meaning there was an article inside a newspaper, and look now, you're helping thousands of people, right, through the organization, right? Because you've helped 2,400 businesses. How many people have been helped through that? Tens of thousands, right?
Right,
Some businesses maybe only have 5, 10 employees, and some may have 100, 200, 1,000 employees. They were all helped because someone at the top, that executive who needed a mentor, who needed direction, got the direction through the Jewish Entrepreneur Organization, and you played a role in that. And that happened because your wife saw an article in Moshe Kindler's paper.
Absolutely.
Amazing story.
I mean, I have to tell you, can I tell you another interesting story? Quick
story.
Sure. You talk about how, really your life gets guided, basically, and we're very religious people. We look at God, it really guides us in everything that we do. When I told the story that, I'd mentioned that I can only do this if my wife joins me. That's the first part of the story.
Okay.
The second part of the story is that the board was reviewing my request, and a few weeks went by, and my daughter was getting married, and we had the ufruf, the celebration before the wedding, in Baltimore, where Zevy is.
Okay.
And so it was in a congregation, and of course they mentioned my name, as the father of the bride of the kala. Right. And basically at the end of the service, Zevy comes over to me and says, "Your name is Robert Safren. I'm the chairman of the board of the Jewish Entrepreneur. I hear you applied to do this job." Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
That amazing
we
story.
Call hashkacha.
Hashkacha. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Your big crowdfunding event is coming up this coming Tuesday, June
29th.
What is the website that people can go to find out more information and to contribute?
Meaningfulmentorships.com. So again, meaningfulmentorships.com.
Robert, as we're approaching the end of the show, you only got a couple of minutes left. Perhaps you could share some tips, maybe even like 3 tips on running a business.
Absolutely. I tell this to, I can't tell you how many times I've mentioned these 3 tips to people. The first thing is you have to be motivated. You have to have passion for the business you're running. You can hate your job, but you can't hate your business. And I will clarify, I love my job. but if you're running a business, you have to have the passion for it. You have to love it. Secondly, you have to have capability. Doesn't mean you have to be the expert. Sometimes you can be too much of an expert and you don't really work with the people around you very well and take in their input. But you have to have that capability, whether it's you, whether it's the people you work with. Surround yourself with capability. That's the key word, surround yourself. And the third thing is obviously the market. And there are 2 aspects. If it's a new product, don't just put it out there and expect that it's going to be successful. Find out what people want. You want to fill something that's a need. Understand what that need is before you throw your product out. If it's a Me Too product, a commodity product, what differentiates you? What separates you? Why are you different than anybody else? And once you understand all of this, market that. Put it on your website. Put it on whatever media that you use, whatever advertising you do. People need to know why they want to buy your product or service.
Great advice. Robert, I hope I'm not going to put you on the spot with this one. And naturally, we honor confidentiality of any of the clients. But perhaps you could share a particular story that gives you that, again, the magic word will be nachas, that a great story that brings out a company that came to the Jewish Entrepreneur and just through them, you just turned them around and now they are soaring, whereas going from surviving to thriving.
Absolutely. We have this woman that was running, I will say in the clothing line. Mm-hmm. For children's clothing line. Mm-hmm. And she had an excellent product, did a tremendous amount of research, put the product up on Amazon, but was struggling somewhat with growing it. We set her up with a mentor in e-commerce that's an expert in that area, gave her a tremendous amount of input, started to grow the business incredibly fast. And then she thought, you know what, now I want to go to big box. I want to go into the stores. And basically we got her a mentor in that area. And that person convinced her not to do that. Wow. And you know what the comment I get back from that person is now? That person saved my business. That person saved my business. Imagine, you saved the business. So not only did this business get saved by not going into the wrong market, now it's doing triple what it was originally. Triple what it was doing originally by driving the programs and the things that we gave. So much so, this person now is one of our mentors. Okay, and she is one of our best mentors. One of our best mentors. She doesn't like to give her name out, so I'll keep that in confidentiality. But she's an amazing, amazing mentor for us right now.
Robert, a nice feature that we have on the show is where we ask each guest to share a business strategy, a business tip based on their initials, right? Robert Safren, RS. Perhaps you could share a great tip.
Oh, that's a great question.
Okay.
I would say R is reliability, being professional, being on time, giving when you say you're going to deliver something, deliver it. If you can't, go through the explanation. People understand their issues that come up. Basically, give them feedback. I like to use the expression, it's very common, walk the talk. Okay, if you're going to say something, do it. If you can't do it, be upfront with it. Reliability is critical in business. Now, the S, I would say stability. Okay, everybody's pivoting in this world right now. It's a common expression when pivoting. That's fine, and you need to pivot. But you need to understand what is it you need to pivot in discussions with your clients, with your customers, your old ones, even your new ones. Understand what they want, what they need. You just can't do it independently. Change is difficult for you. It's 10 times more difficult for your customers. So please consult with them when you do that. Stability is very important, even in a world that's pivoting.
What an amazing show. Zevy Wolman, chairman of the board at the Jewish Entrepreneur. Robert Safren, executive director at the Jewish Entrepreneur. Before I let you go, perhaps you could talk about just the sites that people could find out more information about the Jewish Entrepreneur, TribeWorks, and of course your upcoming crowdfunding.
So for the Jewish Entrepreneur for mentoring, again, it's tjenetwork.com.
tjenetwork.com.
For TribeWorks, it's tribeworks.org. And for our campaign for crowdfunding, it's meaningfulmentorships.com. Meaningfulmentorships.com.
Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel and be notified every single time a new video goes live. Don't miss out on any of the weekly interviews that I have with top business leaders, sometimes Fortune 500 executives. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications.